Another person who has voiced his concerns is Professor Mark Bauerlein. My daughter Elizabeth and I visited Mark, who was serving at Princeton on a teaching fellowship, and whose continuing work is at Emory University as professor of English. He is also author of the book The Dumbest Generation: How the Digital Age Stupefies Young Americans and Jeopardizes Our Future.
The digital age has swept into teenagers and young adults' lives like a tidal wave. It has now affected every waking moment of their lives. In school, they're now surrounded with computers, with laptops, with PowerPoint presentations. And out of school, they walk around with iPhones. They've got their laptops and tablets that they take with them everywhere. In their room at night, not only do they have the TV with 300 cable stations, but they also have the video game console as well, and they have the laptop, of course, and the cell phone, and that these tools make for a 24/7 digitalized, hyper-connected life for young people. And it really is an unprecedented situation in human civilization. And when people talk about the digital age as a revolution in society, in culture, in humanity, they're right. My take on it is that there are some profoundly harmful consequences of these tools, especially in young people's lives, but for the rest of us as well. And that's the debate. Are these tools a cultural benefit? Not a technological, scientific, financial benefit? Of course they are. This is a miracle to be able to wake up in the morning and to look at newspapers from all over the world. It is a miracle to be able to sit in your room way out in the wilds of South Dakota and look at masterpieces in the Museum of Modern Art. It is wonderful to be able to keep in touch with grandmothers who are 3,000 miles away. Of course, this is, again, a wondrous advance in human happiness and human goods. But there are cultural costs, intellectual costs, educational costs, I would say. And laying out what those costs are is really one of the main purposes of that book and of subsequent writings and speeches that I've given since then. Today, where are we? Well, not only do we have 300 cable stations for every TV set, and there are multiple TV sets in every household now, and those TV stations are, half a dozen of them are showing teen content all the time. So you can always go into your room and watch teen stuff while your parents are watching their stuff. But you've also got your laptop. You've got your cell phone. You can sit in your bedroom at midnight, flip open the laptop, and carry on a chat with, a buddy down the street or someone 1,000 miles away. You can get into chat rooms. You can make contact through Facebook. You can be with one another, with other teenagers, even if you are in the private space of your bedroom in the middle of the night. You can sit in the back of your parents' SUV while driving up, Highway 25 through Wyoming in the middle of nowhere, and you can still be conducting your social life. So this makes social life a 24/7 condition, and it makes teenagers now growing up with one another, taking their cues from one another to, again, an unprecedented degree. And this is something altogether new in the history of human civilization. Never have teenagers been able to screen out adults so thoroughly as they're able to now. And the problem with this is youth culture, teen society, is anti-intellectual. It doesn't care about what happened in the Cold War. It doesn't care about what is going on in the White House. It doesn't care about a novel some guy wrote about, a big whale back in 1850. What do those matter? What matters is what happened at the party last week. Okay? What matters is that you speak in a way that won't alienate your friends. You scale down your intellectual interests. If you get on the school bus when you're in 10th grade and you go back and you hang out with your buddies and you say, did you see that idiotic op-ed by Frank Rich in the New York Times this morning? They're going to look at you like, what, did some alien take over your body? The group norms of the teen world, again, are anti-eloquence, anti-knowledge, anti-history. You simply don't display your learning to one another. Again, that cancels you out. So, the more they are with one another, the more their intellectual growth stymies. This is the problem of the digital tools. And I think that we see the impact.
I asked Mark what he would say to his students who are caught up in the digital age. How would he exhort them to aspire to better things?
Everyone's on the internet, you guys. Everyone has a Facebook page, and it's amazing how similar they all are. They're all supposed to be customized and individualized. They're all the same. You guys, the more you hang out with one another, the more you get online and interact back and forth, the more you just become a mass. It's a great big race to the middle. That's what happens to you if you don't do something different with yourselves. And that means reading books, knowing a little bit about history. Read Witness by Whittaker Chambers, his biography of being a communist spy and then turning and going to the government and giving evidence about espionage, communist espionage in the United States. This is a great story. You should all know this. You'll encounter people who actually faced real stakes in their lives. He didn't sit around and say, oh, my girlfriend dumped me. I feel horrible. Let me go talk to my friends. No, I'm going to go change my Facebook page. The trivia of youth are amplified by these digital tools. What is the motto of YouTube? Broadcast yourself. Well, guess what? Yourself may not be that important. That may not be such a great subject to focus so much time on. All those text messages you send about you and your friends, what a waste of time. One of the dismaying things about you guys is you get together and all you do is talk about your friends and what you do. You don't talk about anything else. You know how boring you are? I give them that, and they look at me and roll their eyes. That's the exhortation. It might take with 10% of the students, but the rest of them, they laugh at me. The old curmudgeon. So we get along.